My name is Alex, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought my primary role in my family was that of the reliable older son. The fixer. The one you call when your car breaks down, when you need help with a deposit, or when you just need a few $100 to tide you over until payday. I wore it like a badge of honor, I think. It felt good to be needed, to be the bedrock. It turns out, my real title, the one they used behind my back, was the pathetic failure. I know this because my dear Aunt Carol, a woman who still struggles with the concept of reply-alls on an email, accidentally sent me the video evidence. It arrived on a Tuesday night. A simple ping from my phone. I was working late, of course, trying to close a major deal for my company that would mean a significant bonus. A bonus I had already, in my head, earmarked for my parents' kitchen remodel. The notification was from my family group chat. It was a video file from Aunt Carol with no caption. I smiled, thinking it was probably another clip of her cat falling off a chair. I tapped play. The video was shaky, clearly filmed on a phone. It was looking at the patio in my parents' backyard. My dad was there, my mom, my aunt, and my younger brother, Liam, the golden child. They were all laughing, holding beers. It was the barbecue I'd been forced to miss for work. And then I heard my name. My first thought was that they missed me. That they were toasting me in my absence. How naive that seems now. It was Liam who spoke first, his voice slick with that unearned confidence he's always had. Seriously, I can't believe Alex just pays for it. He didn't even ask what the mileage was. He was gesturing, and I realized he was talking about his new car, a ridiculously flashy SUV that he, with his part-time job as a brand ambassador, could never afford. My mom laughed, a high, tinkling sound that now just sounds like broken glass in my memory. "Oh, you know Alex," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "He's always been so responsible. It's the least he can do." We had to put up with him being such a difficult, moody teenager. I felt a cold knot form in my stomach. Difficult? I was quiet. I studied. I never got into trouble. Liam was the one who crashed 2 cars before he was 20 and got arrested for trying to use a fake ID. But I was the difficult one. My dad, bless his heart, chimed in with his own brand of paternal wisdom. His boring computer job is good for something, I guess. Sits in a dark room all day tapping on a keyboard. At least the paycheck is decent. He took a big swig of his beer. He's a walking ATM, a walking ATM. That was my father. Aunt Carol, the auteur behind this cinematic masterpiece, then piped up. "Well, it's a shame he has all that money and no life to show for it. Look at our Liam. He's out there, living, having fun. Alex just works. It's pathetic, really. He's a pathetic failure in the grand scheme of things, isn't he? All that potential, and for what? So he can send us money." There it was. The phrase that echoed. Pathetic failure. And the worst part? The sound that followed. It wasn't outrage. It wasn't one of them defending me. It was a chorus of murmured agreement. Nods. My mother even said, "Carol, don't be mean," but she was smiling as she said it. The video ended abruptly, probably as my aunt realized she was filming. The screen went black, but their words were seared onto the back of my eyelids. I just sat there in the dark of my home office, the glow of my monitor illuminating the silent shock on my face. For years, I had been the family's safety net. I co-signed Liam's first apartment lease. I paid my mom and dad's property taxes 1 year when they got into a little jam. I funded every single one of Liam's business ventures, from a failed t-shirt line to an ill-advised crypto investment. I did it because I thought that's what family does. I believed I was appreciated. In that 47-second video, I learned I was nothing more than a convenient, pathetic utility. A joke they shared over cheap beer in the backyard I helped them landscape. I didn't explode. I didn't scream or throw my phone against the wall, though a part of me wanted to. Instead, a strange and terrifying calm washed over me. It was the kind of calm you feel in the eye of a hurricane. The world was screaming around me, but in my little bubble of reality, everything was still. The hurt was there, a deep, physical ache in my chest. But underneath it was something else. A cold, hard clarity. It was an epiphany in the worst possible way. All those little moments of disrespect I had brushed aside suddenly clicked into place. The way my achievements were met with a brief "oh, that's nice, dear," before the conversation immediately shifted back to Liam's latest social media post. The way my calls were always about what they needed, never about how I was. They didn't see me, Alex, the person. They saw a resource. A line of credit. A function. And the most damning part was that I had let them. I had enabled this dynamic for years, trading my money and my time for what I thought was love and respect, but was actually just condescending tolerance. I played that video again. And again. And a fourth time. I let the words "walking ATM" and "a pathetic failure" soak in until they lost their sting and became something else, a catalyst. I opened my laptop, the one my dad called my boring keyboard, and I didn't go back to the work project. I opened my online banking portal instead. It was time to make some changes to my financial circumstances. My first act was to log into the family phone plan account. My name was on it, of course. For the last 6 years, I'd been paying for my phone, my mom's, my dad's, and Liam's. It was just easier that way, I'd told myself. I looked at the bill. Liam's line had an extra $100 on it for the new iPhone he just had to have. With 3 calm, deliberate clicks, I transferred ownership of their 3 lines to my father's name, effective immediately. The system noted that the transfer would require him to accept the new terms and set up a payment method. Failure to do so would result in suspension of service. Next, I logged into my bank's bill pay system. I scrolled down the list of automated payments. Liam, car lease, $580 a delete. Parents, home equity loan, $750 a delete. That was for the kitchen remodel I was supposed to be saving up for. They'd taken out the loan, and I'd been making the interest-only payments for them as a temporary help. Temporary had lasted 18 months. Delete. I went through everything. The streaming services bundle they all used with my login. The credit card I'd given my mom for emergencies only, which apparently included weekly expensive grocery runs and new shoes for my aunt. I cancelled them all. It felt like I was methodically amputating diseased limbs. It was clean, it was quiet, and it was final. When I was done, I drafted a single text message. No emotion. No anger. Just facts. I sent it to the family group chat, the same one where the damning video still Saturday. Hi everyone. Due to some unforeseen personal expenses and a necessary re-evaluation of my budget, I will no longer be able to provide any financial support or cover shared bills moving forward. This is effective immediately. Please make your own arrangements for any bills or services previously in my name. I suggest you do this promptly to avoid any interruption. I typed it, read it once, and hit send. Then I put my phone on silent and muted the group chat. The storm was coming. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be the one to fix it. The silence lasted for exactly 1 hour and 12 minutes. It was a beautiful, peaceful hour. Then my phone, even on silent, started to light up like a Christmas tree. I didn't look at the group chat, but the individual notifications that flashed on my lock screen told the story. First, my mother. On-screen text, Mom, what is this text, Alex? Is everything okay? Call me. A minute later. On-screen text, Mom, this is a joke, right? Very funny. You can stop now. Then, my dad. On-screen text, Dad, Alex, your mother is worried. What's this about a budget? Did you lose your job? And then, the main event. Liam. His texts were a masterclass in entitled panic. On-screen text, Liam, bro WTF? Liam, the payment for my car is due Friday, you know that, right? Liam, what do you mean make my own arrangements? I don't have arrangements, LMAO. Liam, dude. Answer your phone. This isn't cool. I ignored them all. I made myself a cup of tea and watched a movie. It was surreal. It felt like watching a pot on the stove that I knew was about to boil over, but instead of turning down the heat, I was just watching. The next morning, the desperation had escalated. I had a dozen missed calls from my parents and 23 from Liam. The texts had turned from confusion to accusation. On-screen text, "Mom, I cannot believe how selfish you are being. After everything we have done for you, you just cut us off without any warning? What did we do to deserve this? Dad, your mother is very upset. You are creating a huge problem for us. The HELOC payment is due. What are we supposed to do? Liam, my phone is going to get shut off. And my car. This is literally going to ruin my life. You are trying to ruin my life." The sheer lack of self-awareness was breathtaking. Not one of them asked why. Not one of them said, "Hey, what happened? Is there something wrong?" It was all about how my actions were inconveniencing them. It was the most validating, and the most infuriating, thing I had ever experienced. They were proving my point with every frantic, self-serving message they sent. The best, or perhaps worst, came from Aunt Carol. She tried to call twice, and when I didn't answer, she sent a long, rambling text message that was a pathetic attempt at a non-apology. On-screen text, "Aunt Carol, Alex dear, I think there has been a terrible misunderstanding. I don't know what you think you saw on that video, it was just silly joking around. You know how we are. We love you so much. I think I must have hit the wrong button, I am so bad with these new phones. Please don't be like this with your mother, she is beside herself. We are family. Family doesn't do this to each other." The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. Family doesn't do this to each other. I almost laughed out loud. Which part, Carol? The part where you secretly film your family calling your nephew a pathetic failure, or the part where the nephew finally stops paying for the privilege of being insulted? It was all so clear. They didn't even remember what they'd said, not really. To them, it was just idle chatter, their baseline opinion of me. It wasn't a big deal because, in their minds, it was the truth. Their panic wasn't rooted in guilt, it was rooted in the terror of their comfortable lives being disrupted. The ATM was offline. That was the real crisis. The grand finale of this particular act was Liam showing up at my apartment unannounced that evening. I saw him on the video doorbell, pacing back and forth, running his hands through his perfectly styled hair. I didn't answer. He buzzed again and again, then started banging on the door. "Alex! I know you're in there. Open the door, you coward. You can't just destroy my life and hide." I just watched him on my phone screen, a pathetic emperor with no clothes, ranting outside the gates of his fallen empire. After 10 minutes, he slumped down on the steps, defeated, and started typing furiously on his phone. A moment later, a new message appeared in the group chat. I couldn't resist. I opened it. On-screen text, "Liam, to everyone in this family, Alex has decided he is too good for us. He is trying to make me homeless and ruin Mom and Dad's finances for no reason. He is a selfish, vindictive monster. I hope you're happy, Alex." I took a screenshot. I saved it right next to the video. The receipts were piling up. A week passed. A glorious, quiet week. I blocked their numbers after Liam's doorstep performance. I knew, however, that the silence was temporary. The big family event of the year was looming, my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary party. It was being held at a fancy country club, a lavish affair for 50 guests. And guess who had put the non-refundable $5,000 deposit down 6 months ago? Your friendly neighborhood pathetic failure, of course. I had also paid the remaining balance 2 weeks before the video incident. They had no idea. They likely assumed Mom and Dad were handling it, and Mom and Dad assumed I would just transfer them the money when the bill came due, as usual. This party was my endgame. It was the perfect stage. I knew they wouldn't dare invite me, because on some level, they knew they still needed something. They were hoping this was a phase, a tantrum, and that I would eventually come crawling back to my rightful place as the family ATM. They would try to corner me at the party, ambush me with a coordinated guilt trip in front of my sweet, unsuspecting grandparents. They would try to make me look like the bad guy. But I had a secret weapon. I had the 47-second video and a pocketful of screenshots. I spent the week preparing. I bought a new suit. I got a haircut. I also bought a small, powerful portable projector and a new cable that would connect my phone to the club's AV system. The main ballroom had a huge screen they used for presentations and, in this case, a slideshow of my grandparents' life together. A slideshow my mom had asked me to put together, naturally. I did put it together. It was a beautiful collection of photos, set to their favorite songs. But I added a new file to the end of the playlist. A little post-credit scene, if you will. The night of the party arrived. I walked into that country club ballroom feeling a sense of calm power I hadn't felt in my entire life. I looked good. I felt better. The buzz of conversation quieted for a moment as I entered. I saw them immediately, huddled together near the bar like a pack of nervous hyenas, Mom, Dad, Liam, and Aunt Carol. They saw me and their faces were a mixture of relief, anger, and calculation. Liam looked visibly stressed, thinner. The repossession of his precious SUV was probably imminent. My mother detached herself from the group and glided towards me, her face arranged in a mask of pained maternal concern. "Alex, thank God you came," she said, her voice a loud whisper. "We have been so worried. What you've done has been so damaging." I just looked at her. "I've been fine, Mom. How have you been?" My detached politeness seemed to throw her off. "How have we been?" "Alex, your father and I had to scramble to pay the house loan." Liam's phone got shut off. "This isn't a game." My dad and Liam were approaching now, a pincer movement of indignation. "You've got a lot of nerve showing your face here," my dad grumbled. Liam was more direct. "You need to fix this. Tonight. You owe us. You owe me." He actually poked me in the chest. "I'm about to lose my car because of you." That was it. That was the moment. All the hurt, all the resentment, coalesced into a single point of cold, hard resolve. I gave them a small, tight smile. "You're right," I said, my voice calm and even, drawing the attention of a few nearby relatives. "We should talk about what is owed. But let's wait a little while. I think after the slideshow is the perfect time. I've even prepared a little something to help explain my recent decisions. You won't want to miss it." I patted my dad's shoulder and walked away, leaving them standing there, confused and suddenly very, very nervous. I spent the next hour mingling. I talked to my grandparents, my cousins, my other aunts and uncles. Everyone who wasn't in on the joke of it was pleasant. They asked about my job, and I told them about the big project I'd just successfully closed. They congratulated me. It was so normal. Meanwhile, I could feel the eyes of my core family unit burning into my back. They were watching my every move, whispering amongst themselves. The performance was about to begin. As dinner wrapped up, my dad, as the eldest child's father, went to the podium to introduce the slideshow. He made a lovely speech about his parents, and then he said, "And my oldest son, Alex, put together a little trip down memory lane for us." He gestured to me. I stood up and walked to the podium, connecting my phone to the cable I had preset with the AV technician. I could see the panic in my mother's eyes. She thought I was going to make a scene right there. I just smiled. "Thank you, Dad. It was my pleasure. I hope you all enjoyed." I hit play. The slideshow was perfect. Pictures of my grandparents' wedding, the birth of their children, family vacations, graduations. The music swelled. People were laughing, tearing up. It was beautiful. My mom and dad started to relax. Liam was just scowling, bored. The final picture, a recent photo of my grandparents, faded to black. The music ended. There was a round of applause. My dad stood up to thank me, but I held up a hand. "I just have one more short clip to share," I said into the microphone, my voice echoing slightly in the quiet room. "I feel it really provides some important context for the future of our family." I looked directly at my parents, at Liam, at Aunt Carol. Their faces went white. Before any of them could move or speak, I tapped my phone screen. The shaky video of their backyard patio filled the giant screen. The sound of their own voices, amplified by the club's expensive speaker system, filled the ballroom. "Seriously, I can't believe Alex just pays for it," Liam's smug voice boomed. The entire room went dead silent. You could hear forks clattering onto plates. Everyone turned from the screen to stare at my family. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. My dad looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Liam just stood there, his face a mask of pure horror. Then came my dad's voice, a walking ATM, then my mother's voice agreeing I was a difficult child, and then, the grand finale, Aunt Carol's voice, crystal clear and damning. "It's pathetic, really. He's a pathetic failure in the grand scheme of things, isn't he?" The murmurs of agreement. The smiling faces. It all played out, 10 feet high, for everyone they knew and respected to see. The video ended. The screen went black. The silence that followed was the loudest thing I have ever heard. I looked at my grandparents. My grandmother had tears in her eyes. My grandfather was looking at my father with an expression of profound disappointment I had never seen before. I didn't have to say a word. The video had said it all. I disconnected my phone, put it in my pocket, and walked back to my table, leaving my family completely and utterly exposed in the wreckage of their own creation. The quiet victory was more satisfying than any screaming match could ever have been. I didn't stay for dessert. The aftermath was a strange combination of chaotic and peaceful. My phone remained blissfully silent for days. I was no longer on the family group chat. It seems they disbanded it. Or, more likely, they just started a new one without me. The peace in my own life, however, was immense. My finances were my own. My time was my own. The constant, low-grade hum of responsibility for everyone else's happiness was just gone. The fallout from the party trickled back to me through my cousins, who called not to chastise me, but to tell me they were horrified and, frankly, not entirely surprised. Apparently, my grandparents had a long, closed-door conversation with my parents and Aunt Carol after I left. My grandfather, a man of few words and immense integrity, was deeply ashamed. He apparently told my father that he hadn't raised him to be a user. Liam's car was repossessed a few days later. A cousin saw the tow truck outside his apartment. He apparently had a meltdown on social media, posting vague statuses about betrayal before deleting his account entirely. My parents had to take a second mortgage out on their house to cover the debts I was no longer paying. Aunt Carol is reportedly no longer welcome at my grandparents' house for Sunday dinner. I didn't do any of that. I just held up a mirror. They did the rest themselves. 2 weeks after the party, a letter arrived. It was from my mother. It wasn't angry. It was just sad. A long, rambling letter about how she loved me, how she didn't mean it, how words can be careless. It was full of excuses, not apologies. She was sorry for how I felt, not for what she did. She ended by asking if we could ever go back to how things were. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. The answer is no. We can never go back. I'm not the same person anymore. That naive, eager-to-please fixer is gone. I mourn him sometimes, but I don't miss him. The man who is left is calmer, stronger, and has a much healthier savings account. My life isn't flashy like Liam's was. I still work my boring computer job. But I have peace. I have self-respect. I've learned that setting a boundary isn't an act of aggression, it's an act of self-preservation. Some people will call what I did cruel, a petty revenge. But when people show you, in glorious high-definition video, that they see you as nothing more than a utility, a pathetic failure good only for your money, you're left with a choice. You can either accept their definition of you, or you can show them what happens when the ATM goes permanently out of service. So I have to ask you, what would you have done? Did I go too far, or did I finally do just enough?